School. School, my friends. What was the purpose of school? You know, when you leave, higher education and you get into the real world, supposedly, it's what people tell you, the real world. Get into the workforce after getting like a 4-year degree. And it's not even a crappy degree, like me, a business degree. It really makes you think with a lot of these job listings nowadays where your degree doesn't really matter anymore. It's more about your experience, which fair enough, but why did before every place require a degree? You need to have at least a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, even a master's degree for some jobs. But now it's like no degree is necessary. It's almost like people are just throwing college out the window and saying, we'll just take anyone who has the experience, which in some ways is good, but in other ways, what the hell was the point of school to that, warranted you having to go into an institution, an educational institution, receive a 4-year education to do basic stuff like Excel spreadsheets? Because that's like one of the more practical things I learned through class. Excel spreadsheets. But American history? What? Business ethics? What? How do these apply as actual genuine skills when you are actually put into the business world? Any type of profession. What is the biggest, fattest joke of them all is the idea that businesses have to be ethical. Are you fucking shitting me? Have you seen the world? How can you demand any type of ethics when there's such complete, blatant disregard of fairness of law? People only follow the law because they can't get away with it. The moment that someone can get away and not have to deal with the law, they will do it. They will find a loophole. That's why these, companies have millions of lawyers, thousands of lawyers, to find any type of tax loophole, any kind of legal loophole, regulation loophole. And, some companies just go abroad. They'd rather go someplace and get, slave labor, pay them a peasant's wage, rather than employing our own people of any respective nation, a home nation of a company. So how can you tell me to be ethical in business when most businesses do not follow an ethical moral framework other than maximization of profit? It's just utter BS. So that was a useless class. Another useless class is about just business management in general. I mean, there are some good ideas of business theory, business practice, how to, economics and whatnot, some like basic economical classes of supply and demand, certain equations that can use and apply to, production quantities, maximization of produced goods, all sorts of stuff like that. Even in the Excel class, I hated doing it, but it was decent enough because, it gave me a practical skill of learning how to make an Excel spreadsheet, trying to do, salaries, paying people's wages, doing inventory of any type of crap that was on the Excel workbook for that, class of that day, practical, proper business stuff that you would use every day that I actually actively use. But American history, where do you use that? You don't use it anywhere. European, Western history, that's a useless class. I mean, I like doing it, but is it really worth the money to pay for a class that you can't apply into the business world? Like, it's just useless. It's worthless. Some of the math classes, like, why do I need to know advanced trigonometry when I'm doing a business class. It makes no fucking sense. Why would I need to be knowing geometry when I'm trying to do business? Maybe give me like more algebra classes or, accounting classes, stuff like that. But my business degree never really offered that. That's the unfortunate reality. And funnily enough, I have stumbled my way through stumbled my way through finding work, trying to get jobs, where I found myself into the position of basically a quality position, a quality inspector position for an aircraft part manufacturer. Because I did an internship that had nothing to do with business to just get some work experience so a place would hire me. Then I stumbled my way even further from that internship where they just didn't want me into an employment agency where it got me hired on to an airports manufacturer as basically a guy who does paperwork but also does like some like manufacturing stuff, like measuring stuff and looking at blueprints. This literally has nothing to do with my business degree other than, yeah, I have to use an Excel spreadsheet on how to do my work. Other than that, I generate reports, I write reports, do reporting, process paperwork, file paperwork, scan in paperwork. I look at aircraft parts that we have in our inventory that are, bad parts, and I do nothing else, pretty much. I basically like send tools out to get fixed or repaired, and that's pretty much it. My work has literally nothing to do with business, nothing to do with business management, money, anything like that. Anything to do with finance, anything, nothing. I'm literally in manufacturing, not by choice, but by pure mistake. So it makes me like really question what was the point of my 4-year degree? Because none of this ever required a 4-year degree. None of this required a degree. I mean, the only benefit I have compared to other people who did get their degree was that I didn't pay for mine. My grandpa paid for it in full. Entire thing, entire bachelor's degree paid for in full by my grandpa. Other people are poor, unfortunately, and unfortunate, and I see the pain. I see the bullshit. I see the pain, and I understand the pain. Is that I did all this investment in money and put myself into debt for a degree that so I can guarantee myself a certain income, but I never got that income because no place wants to employ me. That is fucking bullshit. And everyone knows it. And even going further back to like high school, there are some things in high school where it's just like, how does like most of what high school provide, like how's that apply? I understand, basic arithmetic and literacy, but again, history, it's like, who cares about history anymore? To me, history is intriguing, but how at least American schools do history, it's like so bare bones and crap. Don't even teach it at all. And, most people don't even retain it. And government class, who cares about government? Government is whatever the government wants it to be. Like, once the Epstein files, like, just got released and nothing happened to any of the people responsible for all those horrible things, for our ruling class who've done all these horrible things, well, what's the point? Well, what's the point of learning government and believing in the bullshit of democracy when those people never got punished and will never get punished, yet somehow I have to learn the Constitution? Sorry, I don't believe in it anymore. And anyone can, bitch and bemoan at me and saying, but But the Constitution guarantees your rights? Only power does. I'm sorry, power does. Not some fucking worthless document made 200 years ago and signed by people who are long dead. Power is what dictates my rights, not some document. Truly, if someone was aiming a nuclear weapon at you and saying you no longer have the right to bear arms, it's either, no, I do, and I'm going to fire a nuclear weapon at you, or you're just going to give in and say, well, he has a nuclear bomb. How am I supposed to argue the Constitution when he's aiming a literal nuclear bomb at me? I don't have the right to bear arms, because if I try and do otherwise, I will get obliterated by a bomb. Is the Constitution going to defend you from a nuclear bomb? No, it's not. So anyone that argues otherwise, that somehow the Constitution has mythical and wizard-like powers to guarantee you a right, they're fucking stupid. Because that's not how that works. It's not how any of that works. It's all based off power. But I'm getting a bit sidetracked. Since, you know, they teach us all this crap in school about government and whatnot, and morals. Well, they don't even teach morals anymore, and they don't even teach any more practical stuff. It's just mainly just test taking and obedience training a lot of the time in schooling nowadays. You're not allowed to think critically. Thinking critically gets you punished. All you have are, you know, submissive, good factory workers. And people wonder why the world is what it is. All the pain, the suffering, and just the pure stupidity with generation after concurrent generation. Like, Generation Alpha, even my own generation, Generation Z, they've become more illiterate. Because, well, it's just that schools keep, you know, not failing people. They don't fail people. That's another bullshit thing about school. School no longer fails people anymore. No child left behind. Well, maybe some children deserve to be left behind, okay? If you're that much of a drooling idiot, maybe you don't deserve to have a fair shot of society. Is that mean? Maybe. But is it, you know, rational to say that, well, some people just don't deserve some spots in life because they just lack the intelligence or the wisdom to do it? You know, I would say that's fair. If someone's a literal idiot and has an IQ of 40 and says, well, they have a fair shot to be president, I would be extremely concerned. If a person who is bordering on the lines of the IQ of 40 is going to be president, no, I would just say, no, they don't deserve it. I don't care if they have the votes. They just don't deserve it because they're stupid. Stupid people don't deserve things. Yet, unfortunately, there are a lot of stupid and a lot of evil and stupid people in this world. So that makes a combination of making everything worse. Because the stupid people and the evil people work really well together. But at the end of the day, you just need to put in the effort, you know. Take the time to really think about things and get educated properly. You'll have to be the one that educates yourself. No one's going to educate you, you know, for you. Sometimes you have to put in the time and the effort to read up, to learn new things. Because the current class of people that, you know, teach us, that tell us what's moral and what's not, I would argue to say that they're deficient in almost everything that they do and offer to you. So it's better off to just teach yourself and stumble along the way figuring it out than just listening to these fucking idiots. Every idiot in charge, in power. Even your own manager sometimes is a fucking idiot. Because they were just brought on as a nepotism hire. Look, I don't mind nepotism hires, but if you're a fucking idiot and a nepo hire because the boss knows your son or whatever, like, just get the fuck out of here. If you're a Nepo hire and you're actually competent at what you do, that's fine. I don't care. But if you're not competent, like you can't do the job and you're a Nepo hire, of course I'm going to hate you. Of course I'm going to dislike you. I think anyone would dislike that type of person because they didn't earn it. But unfortunately, that's how a lot of the workforce is. The education no longer matters. It's who you know matters. So you also got to do that too. You got to know the right people. Yes, you have to network. I know it's unfortunate. You have to socialize. It's a real shitty thing. But it's how it is. The world's unfair. People are even more unfair. But it is what it is. Hopefully this was an interesting video about just some shower thoughts I've been having about education and whatnot. But I am greatly, greatly thankful of you listening to me. All right. Goodbye.